There's a breath of life I breathe, a beating in my heart, a magnificent, scary sense of what life has to start. Beyond what we can see, behind the mystery, I know that it could only be. There is a God, this is the proof, that all around the evidence is speaking.
Good morning, Discovery, and good morning today, Pat.
Good morning, Houston. I'd like to thank my wife, Diana, and my sons, Andrew and Patrick. We certainly have a beautiful view of the Earth and of the heavens up here. Thank you.
Good afternoon from Mission Control in Houston, where at this hour you're watching a view inside the Quest airlock of the International Space Station. A good view of Christer Fuglesangs, who is continuing to pre-breathe pure oxygen to cleanse the nitrogen out of his bloodstream as he and fellow spacewalker Danny Olivas gear up for the second spacewalk of this flight. A 6.5-hour excursion outside of Quest with the singular goal to install a new ammonia tank assembly on the Port 1 truss of the International Space Station. Today's spacewalk will focus not only on the installation of a brand new ammonia tank assembly, which weighs 1,702 pounds, filled with 600 pounds of ammonia, to replace a spent tank that was removed on Tuesday during the first spacewalk of the mission by Danny Olivas and Nicole Stott, but also to berth that spent tank, which is grappled at the end of the Canadarm2 robotic arm, back onto a cargo pallet carrier at the rear of Discovery's cargo bay for the trip back to Earth, where it will be refurbished, refilled, and reflown on the STS-131 mission next March. To be installed on the starboard truss of the International Space Station, these ammonia tank assemblies used to provide cooling for the electronics and avionics of the station's backbone. Here is a good view from the cameras on the International Space Station as the station shuttle complex sails 225 miles over the South Pacific. You can see the extended Canadarm2 robotic arm firmly in the grasp of the old ammonia tank assembly that was removed by Olivas and Stott during the first spacewalk on Tuesday. And then at the rear of Discovery's cargo bay, the boxy object is the subject of today's work. The new ammonia tank assembly, there's a close-up view on its truss structure, its cargo-carrying truss at the rear of the cargo bay, its destination, the Port 1 truss of the International Space Station later today.
Okay, Jose, I see 0.5 on the gauge.
Okay, copy, Danny. We see the same over here. So you have it go for EV hatch open and stow.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, Danny and Christer, it's going to be a day egress, so as required, your visors, and when you look down, you're going to be over Southeast Asia.
Great. Tell me when we get to freedom.
Thanks a bunch, Jose. Good work in the equipment lock.
Hey, you guys have a good EVA, and at this point, I'm going to turn you over to Pat, and he'll take it from here.
Thanks, Christian. Great job.
Jose Hernandez handing over spacewalking supervision to Pat Forrester, who will work with the spacewalkers from the aft flight deck of Discovery.
Sails closed, butters locked. Thank you, and Christer, your right waist tether to the forward UIA D-ring. Yes, and also verify base close slide lock. Great. Danny, the thermal cover is already open, so you can egress the airlock.
Here we go. Okay, Pat, I'm out of the airlock.
Okay, you're going to connect your 85-foot safety tether to the airlock forward anchor point.
Forward anchor point. I have the anchor point attached. Sails closed, butters locked. Involves the anchor point and the load leading strap.
Great. You can go ahead and check that your reel's unlocked, and then you can release your waist tether from the airlock D-ring.
And I'm unlocked. Going after my waist tether.
Christer, your first is going to be to transfer the ATA crew lock bag to Danny. The large small ret is going to go with the bag.
Copy that. You reposition, yeah. R2 bag is kind of bulky in my way. Hey, Christer, I got the right bag, right? This is the correct bag, yeah? Okay, I'll tell you what, let me just grab this hook in here. Let's see, have you tethered to it? Okay.
And Danny, you're going to temp stow that on the airlock handrail.
Okay, stand by one, Christer. I'm standing by. Okay, I've got the hook attached. All right, release. Unhooking here. Okay, it's released here.
Christer, while he temp stows that, you can go ahead and get ready to transfer the 1-4 cable bag.
Yeah, and that large small stays in the airlock, right?
That is correct.
All right, very good. My anchor point is attached. Both that and the alleviating hook, the sails are closed, sliders are locked. Wheels and unlocked.
Okay, and now we have you stowing your 85-foot safety tether on the node 20307.
Okay, going back to 0307.
Christer, arms in mode and ready for motion.
Okay, so if you can come straight down into the airlock. It's in the payload bay.
Straight down into the payload bay. Christer, here we come.
That's right.
Kevin Ford now maneuvering the Canadarm2 down to the payload bay of Discovery to meet Christer Fuglesangs.
Good motion, Christer. Thank you.
And it's about 4 feet.
The arm is in firm grasp of the old ammonia tank assembly and has been for the past 2 days since it was removed during the first spacewalk by Olivas and Nicole Stott.
Keep coming. If you see me, you need to come down so I can reach about this level.
I can see you.
In the very lower right-hand corner of your screen, the front end of the Leonardo multipurpose logistics module mated to the Earth-facing port of the Harmony connecting node.
Continuing.
A little bit more.
Continuing.
You can stop motion.
Okay, taking motion out, Christer.
I'll reach from that out there, and I give a lot of clearance to down into work.
Oh, copy that.
DCA complete.
DCA complete.
Yeah, I'm ready for settings on the arm.
Okay, it should still be a clock of 12.
Okay, still clocking.
Discovery in the International Space Station sailing 225 miles over the South Pacific.
Up in work.
Evident on the left shoulder of Christer Fuglesangs, the flag of Sweden.
Okay, Christer, I'm behind you by a couple of 5 feet or so. Okay. Thanks. Letting you know.
Wasting no time, Danny Olivas begins to remove a flap of thermal insulation on the new ammonia tank assembly. Christer Fuglesangs continues to configure a foot restraint at the end of the station's robotic arm, the Canadarm2, which is being controlled by Kevin Ford from the robotics workstation in the Destiny laboratory.
1 foot aft in the bay. Okay, 16 turns and 2 visible white lines.
Okay, Christer, that's great. You can stow your PGT, and your next is going to be to have a two-handed positive control of the ATA.
Copy that. 16 second and a quarter turns.
Humming right along, Danny Olivas and Christer Fuglesangs have now released all 4 bolts holding the ammonia tank assembly to that cargo pallet at the rear of the payload bay of Discovery. They'll begin now in tandem to lift this large boxy tank away from the cargo platform.
Okay, good motion. Oh. Yeah, good motion.
Copy, good motion.
Discovery in the International Space Station sailing over the North Atlantic. Christer Fuglesangs at the end of the Canadarm2 robotic arm as he hauls the new ammonia tank assembly up to the work site on the Port 1 truss of the International Space Station. Nearby him is the old ammonia tank assembly that is grappled to a fixture on Canadarm2. Meanwhile, Danny Olivas begins the trek up to the Port 1 work site, where he will join Fuglesangs to begin to install the ammonia tank assembly and bolt it into place.
Oh, see how we passed Discovery arm here. That's in front of me right now. And say again, Christian? I can see how we are flying past Discovery's arm, end of it. I think it is at least. Or maybe it's rather the blue. That's in front of me. Good clearance though.
And Danny from Kevin for Robotics.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Hey, just the only thing we can't resolve, and we just want to make sure we're clear of that torch. And geometry tells us we should be, but we don't have great views. We think we have good shadows. And can you tell if Christer's tank is well clear of the torch?
It is about, let's say, 15 feet away from the torch.
Okay, thank you very much. You're the key to the whole EVA. We're going to keep going.
Okay.
Okay, Danny, you now have a go to drive bolt 3 to the hard stop. I'll need torque and turns.
Copy, torque and turns. Okay, Pat. That was about 2 turns. Got 11.9 torque and green light.
Okay, those are good numbers, Danny. You can reinstall your wobble socket and put the torque multiplier in the ATA lock bag.
Good work.
And with Danny Olivas driving bolt number 3 into the proper at the proper torque setting, the ammonia tank assembly is now firmly secured in the Port 1 truss of the International Space Station. At 7:24 p.m. Central Time, the new tank is in its parking place on the port side of the International Space Station's backbone. Olivas is stowing a tool called a torque multiplier back in his crew lock bag. This was used to firmly plant his set of bolts in the correct torque settings as the ammonia tank assembly was firmly secured to its location, its installation location on the Port 1 truss.
And Danny, understand that you are still with the torque multiplier is what you said?
Torque multiplier is now stowed.
Thank you. Okay, your next, while Christer's getting in the arm, is to attach an adjustable fuse tether to the ATA handrail.
Good work.
And I'm back in the arm. Okay, Christer, if I could get a quick glove inspection from you. Okay, I have 2 good gloves. 2 good gloves. Okay, you can go ahead and GCA the arm clear structure and then give Kevin a go to maneuver to the old ATA setup position.
Okay, Kevin, you just need to bring me 1 or 2 meters straight aft, station aft, and then do your job.
Okay, I'll put that in work, Christer. We're just putting the arm back in gear. Brakes are off.
Pat Danny, the adjustable fuse tether is attached to the ET handrail.
Okay, I'm sure you heard our go for the connector, so the first thing is to remove the cap from ATA J2 and stow it on your fuse tether.
Okay, J2's coming first. Okay, F4 is removed and it's on the adjustable fuse tether.
Okay, we are going to mate QD F174 to the ATA QD M4.
Okay, F174. Okay, I've got F174 in my hand.
Okay, Danny, this of course is the one we work with.
Okay, I'm ready with that.
Okay, we're still going to run through this one more quick inspection of the QDs for fault or damage.
Okay, no fraud, no damage.
Detemp button is up.
10 button is up.
Okay, now we know the white band is visible. We just want you to side loads and mate the QD. And remember, you're going to hold the release ring aft.
Okay, here we go.
Out, Christer. Loading up the next one.
All right, thanks. Okay, got a good mate. I see the forward white band visible. And I did not need to pull back on the release ring.
Okay, Danny, stand by. Break Houston with this particular QD. Do we still want the snapback test?
Yes, Pat, we do.
Okay, copy. Danny, we'll take the snapback test.
Here we go.
And the forward white band still visible.
Good snapback test. Forward white band is visible.
Full test.
Good full test.
And now we're going to, and a visual gap test.
Good visual gap test.
Okay, we're going to open the valve. I want you to assess the side loads, press the button down, and move the bail forward.
Okay, work. Okay, that's complete.
Check aft white, hold D10 button up.
Half white band visible, D10 button is up.
Verify D10 button can be depressed.
Can be depressed.
And if you'll rotate the locking collar to the lock position.
Okay, it's unlocked.
Okay, that's good news. We've got that one done. If you'll replace the thermal booty and close the TA clamps as required.
It works.
And Houston copies, well done.
This is Mission Control Houston. Danny Olivas and Christer Fuglesangs have completed all of the connections of the fluid lines, the nitrogen pressurization lines, and the electrical connections for the new ammonia tank assembly. Olivas and Fuglesangs continue to operate with maximum efficiency. Next up will be the ungrapple of the old ammonia tank assembly from its grapple point at the end of the Canadarm2 for a handoff by Olivas over to Fuglesangs to begin to maneuver the spent tank back down toward Discovery's cargo bay to be bolted in place on the cargo pallet at the rear of the payload bay.
All right, Christer, you have the whole tank.
Thank you. I have the tank.
Thank you, good job.
So Danny, if you feel like they're clear, then we can give Kevin a go to maneuver to the payload bay.
Okay, Kevin, I think you're about 5 feet away from nadir of the truss and about 4 feet away from the stanchion camera system.
Copy, thank you.
And you were clear flying into the payload bay.
Okay, we're going to take him to a position to start a joint OCAS up. Thanks, guys.
I'm going to hold off from egress in the EPA4 until the ammonia tank is out of the way.
Sounds good.
Hey, Pat, I'm happy with my clearance. I'm going to go egress the EPA4.
Okay, Danny. And once you're out and get your waist tether, then we're going to head back over and close the shroud.
Copy.
STS-128 mission specialist Christer Fuglesangs getting quite the view now as he makes his way back toward Discovery's payload bay with his spent ammonia tank assembly. Denny Olivas, meanwhile, moving hand over hand down the station's structure back toward the payload bay. Discovery and the International Space Station now passing 222 miles above the South Pacific Ocean. You see Olivas down there in the bottom of the payload bay. Fuglesangs there right above him, still holding the old ammonia tank assembly. This structure at the back of Discovery's payload bay that they're going to attach this old tank to is called the Lightweight Multi-Purpose Experiment Support Structure, Carrier, or LMC for short. It's basically a customized stowage platform that goes in the very back of the shuttles.
Okay, I see good direction into the payload bay.
Copy.
Okay, you can stop the aft.
Copy.
Continue down.
Down.
Hang on right there, Christer.
I think we can move it down. Do you reach it?
I can reach it.
All right. What about we just drag
Okay.
it?
Hold motion right there.
I'm holding.
We're going to try and get this thing in manually from here. Okay, Christer?
Yep.
I'm pulling starboard.
Okay.
And I'm in bolt 1 and bolt 2.
Bolt 2 is on.
Bolt 3, bolt 4 are in.
And bolt 1 and 2 are on.
You guys are sure you're solid with the arm? I'm going to take the brakes on.
Yeah.
We can do
Mission
it.
is complete. Thank you.
Brakes are on.
Get it? Thanks for a long, nice ride. Smooth flying. I'm glad to be. It's over right now. And Christopher, once you're out, if you can GCA the arm to the cleanup position for your tether swap. All right, I'll do that. Okay, bolt 1. 19 turns and 2.5 on torque. Copy. Actually, it was 19.8 turns if you want more. Closer.
And Pat Danny, I'm at 307.
Copy, Danny. Okay, here comes bolt number 2.
This is a shot of Christer Fuglesangs still down inside Discovery's payload bay, wrapping up the activities on this old ammonia tank assembly. While he is doing that, Danny Olivas is up on the S1 truss, working on an ammonia tank assembly up there.
20 turns on T34.
Copy. What you want?
There is a stubborn bolt up there that is holding that ammonia tank assembly in place. He was supposed to remove it, but they're going to skip that activity, bump that to STS 131.
Target is facing aft and zenith.
And what he's doing now is removing some bolts to where a fixed grapple bar is going to be affixed to this ammonia tank assembly. This fixed grapple bar, as you can see toward the top right part of your screen, will allow the robotic arm to reach out and grab onto the ammonia tank assembly, just like what was done during this mission with both the old tank and the new tank.
And Station Discovery on the big loop with some happy news. The new ACA has been checked out, is fully integrated, and is doing well. Our Struck and Mech team has looked at that bolt number 3 on the old ATA, and it's perfectly good for landing, so that's all good. And we're about 50 minutes ahead of the timeline. Great job, everybody. Thanks. Good job, Houston. Thanks.
Good job, guys.
Welcome to Flight Day 7 highlights for STS-128. It's been a great mission. We're getting closed in inside with them so that we can help them with all the procedures and get them ready to go outside on EVA-2. We had another big day in the MPLM today. There's CJ coming out with a piece of equipment that's going to be stowed somewhere on station. We're really filling it up. It's hard to believe there'll be room for the HTV in just a little while. There comes Frank DeVin. And as good as our training is and at the bench reviews we go to and we think we're going to remember everything that we see, we get up here and it is so nice when we see some of the notes that Marcia and her transfer team left for us. There I am. There's an example, one of her notes, where she reminds us to take this microscope and put it in a bubble bag that's also in there. And we follow everything that she tells us to do. There is the microscope and the bag that it goes in.
A big part of the EVA today was robotic operations, where Kevin flew Christer around quite a bit on the arm. This is where Kevin and I were setting up all of the equipment that we need for supporting the robotic arm operations. We've got a lot of different tools that allow us to see what's going on and make sure that the arm and Christer stay clear of the station.
And you can see the new ammonia tank was in the trunk of the payload bay, and here you see Christer heading down the payload bay sill on his way to join the arm. At that point, he hopped in the arm, and we removed the ammonia tank from the flight support equipment and flew that new ammonia tank over to the P1 work site. That would be the location that we vacated 2 days ago, myself and Nicole, and in preparation for the ammonia tank replacement. You can see Pat here had his hands full today. We had a lot of issues coming up, and the ground team worked phenomenally with the on-orbit crew to make sure that we had everything squared away, and that if there were any questions that we had, that the ground team was right on top of it to make sure that we had all the information we needed. Okay, and
Kevin, the video you just saw was a pass over New Zealand. Some spectacular views for our EVers up here when they're outside, of course. Most of the time they're busy, though, looking right in front of them, getting the tasks done. Some of those tasks can be made a lot easier and done a lot more timely fashion by using the space station's big robotic arm. And this mission, we've really put it to great use here, moving ammonia tanks around and moving around the UTEP, the European Technology Exposure Facility. The arm has a really great and flexible capability, and we get some great training initially in Canada, and then back home we get training from a great group of instructors back there on all the different aspects of the mission, all the different coordinate systems we can use, all the different cameras we can use to see where the arm is and how it's clearing structure. And we can fly it in nice and tight and actually bring equipment in, not just actually fly the footplate, and let Christer do the work there, putting that tank onto that carrier in the back of the payload bay.
Let's just see where the next motion is supposed to go. ATA unberth position.
Do you want to?
Shoulder roll is still locked, so we're okay with that. And then we'll just, Danny is going to give us a GCA, and then we're going to let Danny know when we have good enough views to terminate, and we'll take him to that position.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, because we want to start the joint OCAS from this final position.
All right.
So we'll get that as close as we can.
All right.
Danny got you loud and clear. Go ahead. Okay, I understand. Just straight forward for now. Okay, actually, the APFR is looking good on the back end, so I'll start up a little bit if that's okay, and then we'll start moving forward. Okay, here we go.
A little better with the influence.
Continuing. Forward now.
Here's the EV crew coming down the ODS of the space shuttle. They're doing a tether swap there. You can see it's nighttime, and of course they got their headlamps to keep track of, keep on working in the dark. Great job by everybody today, especially Pat with the IVN and working with the ground, the Mission Control Center at Houston, and our Capcom Robert Hanley for the EVA. A lot of NBR runs went into making this go right, and the whole team did great on that.
One of the things you learned in zero gravity is that you carry things with your legs and you get around, you move around with your arms, quite the opposite of what you would do on the ground. And Frank is moving some of the food containers that way, and it's a very efficient way actually to get things from point to point. We took on a lot of supplies from the MPLM. We don't get visitors very often, and it's even better when they're bringing us lots of stuff. And it also gives us a chance to take things home, things that we don't need anymore, and hopefully with the food containers here, things that can be filled up and sent back. And here you see Bob wrestling to get some of the supplies and things that were returning to the ground back into the stowage bags. And as you can see, it's quite a sea of stowage containments and a little bit of a maze down there. But the MPLM is a great vehicle, and it will swallow up everything that we have to put down in it. It brought us about 7 tons of stuff, and kudos to everybody who's helped us out here getting our station supplied. We're EVA today, I spent most of the time on the arm, and it was an excellent support from Kevin and Nicole inside, flying in it. Was a little bit concerned how it would be to handle some 800 kilos plus. I think it's something like 1,800 pounds plus box on the outside. But it went very well, particularly due to the very smooth flying of the arm. And here you actually can see what Kevin and Nicole sees through cameras. There's a lot of cameras outside which help them to get a situational awareness of where the arm is and where I am. Still, here's Tim getting ready to come home. And in a week from now when we land, he'll be back in gravity, and it makes very good to prepare for that by working out. And here is more from the EVA. That's me upside down. And this is towards the end of the EVA. I was carrying a foot support and a bag of tools on a special kind of tool we have on our left hip. And I'm coming up from the shuttle towards the station, and I'm waving to the commander inside. Here is Pat, who's doing the excellent job conducting the spacewalk from inside, what we call the IV guy. Sometimes the IV has to coordinate 2-3 procedures at the same time. The two EVA guys may do different things, and there might be some kind of off-nominal items happen, so he needs to pick up a third procedure. From ground, they also have a great support, and they also give us advice and things that go exactly as expected. They help us out what we should do.
Go.
So they should suit me up first also.
And Houston airlock, we show us complete with the repressed cue card and moving to post EVA.
All right, great.
Good job, buddy.
Yeah,
way to go. We copy and concur, Jose.
Pressure equalization valve off. Ratchet, match position. And top handle pull out. So just pull that, move handle, push.
All right, there they are. All right.
Okay, IV has to
Cypress, all right. You're swimming towards you. Actually, I need to. I'm
IV equalization has to be off.
On my way. Ready?
Okay, Christer, we're going to remove the safer from you. If you can hang on to this handle here.
Yeah.
Everybody's upside down.
Yeah.
And what you just saw is you saw Tim and I opening the hatch to let our two guys that had a busy day today outside. And upon opening the hatch, there's a distinct smell as soon as you open it. I'm not sure if you call it the smell of space, but it's certainly something different than any other smell I've experienced. And I talked to my colleagues, and they can't describe it themselves either, but it's certainly very distinctive. Here you see us getting them ready to get them out of their EMU suit, and there's lots of procedures that we have to follow, make sure that, for example, that we don't depressurize them at a fast rate so that we don't hurt their eardrums. And as you can see, it's a very detailed process that they go through.
All right, Christer.
Good job.
Hey, CJ, thanks a lot.
You bet. Good
That
job.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Let's see.
That's called teamwork. That was some real teamwork.
Big teamwork. Ground, robo, everybody. It was awesome.
Kevin?
You guys did a great job.
There he is, man. That was some hot arm flying. Great job, Kevin.
Hey, thanks a lot.
All right.
It was a great day out there. It was a great plan.
Okay, you can see we had a very busy day and a very busy flight. Day 7 indeed. Looking forward to another flight day tomorrow, flight day 8, and for everybody que habla español, les quiero desear una buenas noches y hasta mañana.